Well, among those industries seeking more AI is food production. While some aspects of food production are done by robots, many large corporations are playing catch-up. CGTN's Elaine Reyes sat down at TechCrunch with founder and CEO of Chef Robotics, Rajat Bhageria, about his company's goal of bringing AI to the production line.
You know, what's interesting is I think the vision that people had is that robots would be in your home. I think we're not seeing that. I think what we've kind of learned is that, especially consumers today, they don't want to have machines and robots in their house. Frankly, they would rather rent it. You know, I did this little thought experiment with my friends when we were first starting Chef. Imagine you had a robot in your house, a black box that could do anything you wanted to do. I don't know how it's going to work, but let's imagine that. And then on option B, let's imagine you could get the food delivered to you by a robot, made by a robot, in a ghost kitchen. So it's cheap real estate, labor is cheaper because it's a robot, and it's delivered by a robot, so it's cheaper too. So imagine the cost is the same, but it's made by your favorite brands and favorite chefs. Which one would you pick? And basically everyone picked that latter one. People, and I got that sense, people would rather rent the food, if you will, get the food delivered to them, than have some machinery at their house. So I think what we're finding is that robotics today, especially food robotics, it's really thriving, but it's actually thriving a lot more in selling to businesses. Today, for example, we don't sell for consumers, we sell to food manufacturing plants. If you were to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or any major retailers in the US or Canada, and you go to the frozen food aisle, you see all these prepared meals. They're actually made by hand, more than you might imagine. Or if you go to Safeway and you see all those salads or yogurt parfaits or prepared burritos, or you go to an airplane for an international flight, those meals are actually almost always made by hand. And the reason they're made by hand is because traditional automation isn't flexible enough to make them. So consumers, you and I, want vegetarian meals and vegan meals and meat lovers meals, and so there's 300 different SKUs, products basically. And instead of creating dedicated lines for each of the different products, these food manufacturers, they have flexible lines. So the line goes from doing pad thai to a green curry meal to Indian korma meal throughout the day. So they need flexibility. So traditional automation doesn't work, and so they rely on humans. So you have humans in a 34° Fahrenheit, 1 to 2 degrees Celsius plant, scooping food for 8 hours a day. It's a horrible job, and as a result of that, they're having a lot of trouble hiring. So what our robots do is say, okay, well, let's flexibly automate those lines. So these robots slide onto an existing production line, no retrofitting, and they kind of help automate that production so that those companies can overcome their labor shortage, basically.
Well, you know, this goes into, labor shortage, labor crisis. What is the history of automation when it comes to food manufacturing? Because it kind of sounds like this is a more recent problem, but it actually goes further.
Yeah, so food manufacturing is actually quite automated in a different part of it, if you will. So here's what I mean. If I'm Coca-Cola and I'm bottling bottles of Coca-Cola, obviously there's not humans that are bottling your bottles of Coca-Cola or Lay's chips or cereal, right? These CPG brands are actually very automated. And why? It's because Coca-Cola doesn't have 1,000 products. They have a 2-liter bottle, they have a 1-liter bottle, they have Diet Coke. You get the point. There's 20 products. So for each of those 20 products, they get a dedicated custom assembly line that just makes that product. In other words, the 2-liter bottle of Coke line doesn't make 1-liter bottles, if that makes sense. It's custom.
Right.
So that's a problem that's been solved for 30 or 40 years, and the broad strokes way it works is Coca-Cola or Black & Decker or Tesla or Ford goes to what's called a systems integrator. And these systems integrators basically kind of integrate a bunch of off-the-shelf hardware, basically. But the line just does that same thing over and over again.
The cookies, the chips, the very sort of simple things.
Correct.
And with Chef, I'm imagining it's custom.
Yeah, so exactly. So now the nuances for prepared meals, you don't want the same lunch every single day. You don't want just the same Caesar salad every single day. You want choice. So most of our customers, if you go to Whole Foods or Safeway, they have 300 different products for prepared meals. And so you're not going to create 300 dedicated custom lines. You're going to have flexible lines that change over. You're going to go from doing 3 hours of one meal. Okay, let's change over the line. Okay, now 3 hours of another meal. Okay, 2 hours of another meal. So they need flexibility. And because of that, that's really where AI-enabled robots can come in. So we, instead of dispensing, we use pick and place. So our robots have cameras and eyes, if you will, to figure out, here's where I should pick from in the pan of food to be consistent, and then they use cameras to figure out where to place into a tray, and that allows us to kind of scoop any ingredient, whether it's a meat or a sauce or a mash or a what have you, any kind of ingredient and any portion size, while kind of maintaining the kind of consistency and throughput that the assembly line needs to produce, basically.
Big number, I saw 70 million servings in production that your robots have completed. Tell us about your company working with different food manufacturers, both in the United States and Canada.
That 70 million number is something I think we're really proud about, because I think shipping robots into production is actually really hard. Because in manufacturing, as you can imagine, like if the thing doesn't work, they're going to pull you out in a second. So it's got to really perform. So we know how to like pick up cheese without it clumping up together. It's actually really hard. Or we know how to pick up leafy greens without like damaging them, which is going to affect their shelf life. Or how to pick up a grape without crushing it. Or how to pick up sauce and spread it over a tray so it's not just in the center. So like all these like key kind of manipulation problems, we have really good training data about. And so like in terms of like working with our customers, like I think what we try to do is like however we can to like make them happy. Like over-invest in customer support and customer success, even if that means living at the plant for a bit, like do whatever it takes to make them happy. Because if they're happy, first of all, they're going to be referenceable customers. They're going to hopefully buy more robots. But also, like it's really good training data, which allows our AI models to get better, which then makes it more useful for them, but also to the next customer. And also, by the way, down the line, as we think about, okay, well, let's get out of just food factories to commercial kitchens, ghost kitchens, fast casuals, that training data is still really useful.